Good evening, everyone. My name is Ann Ketterer. I'm an architect and the owner of Novo Studio, and I'm joined by my colleague from EEI, Carrie Worms. We're here this evening to give you an update on the very exciting renovation project here at the Medomak Valley High School. I want to start by talking a little bit about our timeline. I engaged with the district almost a year ago. In that time since, we began with an existing conditions analysis where my team and I went through, drew floor plans of the building, and evaluated the condition of the existing structure. We then moved on to a space summary and programming study that was all about evaluating and understanding how space is used currently in the high school. From there, after we learned about the condition of both the space and the physical facility, we started diving into conceptual design, and then worked very closely with Carrie and her team to understand the pricing and costs associated with each of the design options. So as we move through the conceptual design and through the process, we eventually developed a project that has three very clearly established goals. And the importance of project goals is that they serve as our guiding principles for the decision-making process. So as we go through and design, we ask ourselves, is what we're designing and the decision we're making, are they meeting these goals? And if the answer is yes, it became part of the project scope. And if the answer was no, then it was removed from the project scope. So I want to start tonight's presentation by sharing with you these project goals. The first goal is addressing health, safety, and accessibility in this building. So it's remediating hazardous materials, creating design changes specifically tailored to ADA accessibility and universal design, and looking at safety as it relates to how the school functions. The next goal is space optimization, specifically tailored for a 21st century educational environment. This building was completed in 1969. The way that teachers teach and students learn have changed a lot in the ensuing decades. So when we talk about space and we talk about educational delivery, it's important to understand how that has changed and what we can do to make this building a tool for education as it is delivered today as opposed to 1969. And then finally, perhaps most importantly, our third project goal is fiscal responsibility. We understand that this town is not going to give us a blank check, nor are we asking for one. We're saying let's make the right investments that will meet the criteria of our project goals, focusing on what the building and the community needs, not what we want. So moving into our first project goal, looking at health, safety, and accessibility, you have this building that we're sitting in today. This is 105,000 square feet. And you have, of that 105,000 square feet, almost 50,000 of it is flooring that is asbestos tile with asbestos mastic. That's hazardous material. They didn't know in the 60s. It was used everywhere. But now we know that it's harmful to us as molecules, particles get into the air, we breathe it in. It's harmful to the students and teachers in this building. So this project would remediate all 50,000 square feet of the asbestos tile. We'd also be looking at the water system. Many of you are probably aware that right now, the people in this building, teachers and students, staff members, they do not drink the water. The water is not considered potable. That's because after several tests over several months, it was determined that the arsenic level in the water is just a little too high, a little more than what we want to see for it to be considered safe. That's problem number one. In order to solve for that problem, the district needs to install an arsenic remediation and treatment system. Currently, in your utility room, the water, before it goes into the storage tank, which is pictured there to the right, the water goes through a softening process and a radon process before it then hits the tank. That process already takes quite a bit of time. There's a lag time between the demand and going through that process to the point where it's potable. Adding an arsenic system, remediation system, would slow it down even more. Also, there's not physically enough space inside your current utility room to put the treatment system. And then on top of that, your current storage tank, which is pictured right there on the right, is too small. I'm not sure if you're aware, but I'm happy to share that in this building, when, for example, there's a theater event and the seats are all sold out, it is very common for the building to have a water shortage, whereby when you turn on the tap, there's no more water, because the water in that tank isn't enough volume to handle large assemblies. This happens during athletic games as well. So anytime, or sometimes during lunch, anytime there is higher use throughout the day, the school system will often, the building will often run out of water, and then there'll be about a 10 or 15 minute wait time before the tank can go through the processes I previously discussed and refill. So this project would create more room inside the existing utility closet, then add a larger tank, and then install the arsenic treatment system to make the water safe to drink, and a larger tank so that you wouldn't have the problem of shortages. Additionally, this project will address issues of building code. A lot has changed since 1969. This building currently does not have sprinklers. In today's world, when we design a new high school facility, we put in a sprinkler system. Because we are doing enough renovation, proposing enough renovation to this building, it will be required as part of this project to install a sprinkler system throughout the building. Moving into health, safety, and accessibility as it relates to building systems and functions and controls. Right now, you have about 27 unit ventilators, all of which are almost 30 years old, running on a boiler that's almost 40 years old. So one of the things this project will do is update those systems so that you have newer systems, because they're currently at the end of life. They need to be replaced, so we'll replace them with a new system, and a system that is more efficient, therefore less costly to operate, and will create a better thermal environment for the inhabitants of the school. As it relates to accessibility, currently your high school student restrooms do not meet the criteria of handicap accessibility dimensionally. In addition to the gang toilets that the students use, the toilet rooms here in the event space also do not meet the ADA criteria. In addition to that, your front office doesn't meet the ADA criteria. So if you are somebody who is in a wheelchair and you're trying to gain access to go meet with the principal to talk about your student, you simply cannot do it if you go in the front door. You have to go circuitously through a back door or a side door. And if you are a student in the wheelchair, you have to use a designated teacher's restroom, because the current student restrooms cannot accommodate you in your mobility impairment. So one of the things that we want to do to improve is not only create rooms that are handicap accessible, but also create an environment for the student bathrooms, which are somewhat problematic, that will address safety and security and supervision, as well as privacy, as well as accessibility. So if you look at the image on the upper right, that is a 3D view as though you were looking at the restroom from the student restroom from the hallway. So we are proposing that at the 3 student restrooms, we redesign them to create single user spaces with just water closets, just the toilet inside of each single user restroom, and then the sinks outside. And the reason we do that is because it allows you to open up the space to make it easier for the facilities to supervise the students, but you're not hindering their privacy. The reason that districts like this type of bathroom configuration is because, well, most students are very good when they go into the bathroom. Other students have behavioral issues, and vandalism and bullying is a problem here at Medomak Valley High School. Melvin, your phone, sir. So this design is tailored to kind of correct some of those issues, provide better supervision, provide more accessibility, and of course more privacy for the students. In addition to renovations at the bathrooms, we are also looking at renovating the locker rooms. Your current locker room space does not meet accessibility criteria. And then lastly, as it relates to safety and security, we're proposing a new entry sequence at the front door. Right now, when you enter the front door of the high school throughout the course of the day, not the entrance we all use to get here tonight, but the main office. You are buzzed in to a vestibule, and then from that vestibule, you walk freely into the high school. Most people, I'm sure, are good people, and they drop right into the main office, and they sign in, and they meet whoever they're there to talk to. But the possibility is, if you are someone who does not have good intentions, actually you are able to access all of the school from right there. So what this project would do is to reconfigure your front vestibule by moving back one of the doors and creating a secure entry such that once you are buzzed in, you do not have access to the rest of the school without first accessing and checking in with the main office. And from there, you can go and see whomever you're there to visit. In addition, we are proposing that in order to keep students and staff safe, we move all the public-facing programs, such as the nurse's office, main health, the counseling suite, and the administrative suite, bring all those to the front, so that if you are a member of the public, say you are a parent coming to pick up your sick child, you do not need to walk through the hallways of the high school. You can go right there in a secure zone. The admin knows you're there, and you can pick up your kid. As it relates to space optimization, one of the first questions that was asked of me when my team and I began the project is, do we need an addition? I know that there was a previous bond a couple years ago, and that bond called for an addition to this building. I wasn't a part of that project. I wasn't a part of that bond effort. And the district's been very clear, this bond is only for the high school, not other schools in the district. And so in taking a look at what the renovation should include and what our project really is, the question was asked, should the scope include an addition? In order to understand if you need additional square footage, you have to understand how your current square footage is working. What's it doing? How much do you have? How are students learning? Is it serving you? Space is a tool for learning, so we have to understand how that tool is functioning. And so I sat down with the staff for approximately 3 days conducting interviews to understand how each department teaches and how this building supports learning for students. And what I found is you actually do have enough square footage. And if we just rearranged some of your existing square footage, we could then avoid the need to build new square footage. And that's critically important because new square footage is about 3 times the price as just renovating what you already have. So what you see in the diagram on the screen is areas where we can improve the current square footage, make changes to your current layout to use the space better and avoid having to build new. So on the left, you see the locker rooms. Currently, the locker rooms are very, very large. They've got lots of showers in there. Well, guess what? Students don't shower in gym class anymore. We don't need 16 showers in the girls' locker room. We need about 2, maybe 3. So we're looking at right-sizing the locker rooms, right-sizing their components, and taking some of that space and giving it over to aspects of the programming that they're missing, such as storage. The gym and the fitness department just don't have enough storage. So we want to rearrange the locker rooms to provide the facilities that are needed for the students and the teachers rather than building new. I already talked about the proposed changes to the front of the building, pulling all the public-facing programs towards the main entrance so that you stop visitors from having access or the need to wander through the hallways. And then lastly, it's the science labs. Those science labs were created at a time when there was a lot of focus on built-ins, and students would learn at a desk area and then also at their lab area. Now, in order to maximize and create more efficient square footage, what we prefer to do is push the labs to the perimeter of the classroom so that you can use furniture to make changes throughout the year as the curriculum and the teaching changes. So if you're in the middle of a lab, you move the furniture component over to the perimeter gas and sink area for the lab. If you're in a lecture, the furniture is moved over to where the whiteboard is. And what this allows you to do is future-proof your programming and your classroom so that it's a tool for learning both how we do it today and hopefully in the future, just because we're not building things in. When you build in furniture and components of education, you lock yourself into that design. By pushing everything to the perimeter, you make it much more flexible for possible future use. As it relates to the labs in particular, They too have the asbestos tile. We need to remove that tile. I sort of skipped over this earlier, but another big component that we're doing as part of this project is we're replacing the plumbing systems. Right now, the school has a lot of backups throughout the course of the day because the water isn't draining properly in your main drain. Your main drain, which was installed in 1969, was originally a 6-inch cast iron pipe. And now, due to corrosion over time, it's a 3-inch opening. And you get a lot of backups. So we're going to remove the asbestos flooring, and then we're going to dig down, replace the pipe with a PVC, and then as we put it back together, we're going to put in flooring with low VOCs or no VOCs, meaning volatile organic compounds, and then we're going to put in an arrangement that is better for education, not just today, but for tomorrow. And then the last part is the revolving renovation fund, and Carrie and I both worked pretty hard on this, but she is the expert, so she's going to talk to you about how the state has agreed that we deserve money to remediate our flooring and fix our water problem.
Yeah, so we've submitted a few years for revolving renovation funds. And for those of you who aren't familiar, the state does a program every year. It opens in the fall for schools to submit applications for what's called the Priority 1. So it's indoor air quality, life safety, emergency asbestos. So you have to show in the asbestos category why this is an immediate problem. And so this year, we were lucky enough to get around $4 million from the state for this district as a whole, which is significant and impressive since it's only coming from around a $15 to maybe $20 million fund, and it's districts across the state that are submitting these applications. And the significance that it did to the high school project particularly was it pulled $2 million of items that needed to be done if we were to look at this project, and it gave us a grant for them. We wouldn't be able to do a lot of the work at the high school without addressing the asbestos in the flooring, as well as the water quantity and quality improvements. So by capitalizing on the state revolving renovation funds, we can now pull those out of the necessary bond, trying to reevaluate it for now what is the next immediate priority items. And if you want to go to... So the process that we would be looking to do for this is if it is approved on June 9th, then over the next summer, we would be dealing with the asbestos and pulling out the asbestos portion of it, and then the water quantity, as well as the boiler room here, and then developing phase 1 and phase 2 for summer of 27 into 28. Great. And we would, during those years, we'd be doing the detailed scope development throughout the year. That way, everything is going to be done in the summers. That is anything non-invasive can be worked on throughout the school year, but majority of these works are going to be summer slams to get it accomplished so that we're not impacting any of the classroom activity during the year.
So the images and diagrams that I shared with you with this presentation are conceptual design. So if this project passes the vote on June 9th, while Carrie and her team are doing the asbestos removal and working on solving for the water issue, my team and I will be doing the phases of design commensurate with what are called basic services. So we'll be doing schematic design, design development, and construction drawings, which are really, that's what used to be called blueprints. Those are construction documents. And we'll be getting those prepared to issue to Carrie's team to then really start cranking on the construction the summer of 2027 and then 2028. I know that we just threw a lot of words and information at you, but we're here to answer questions. So please, if anybody has a question, we'd love to hear from you. Do they need to go to the microphone?
If you can it's being recorded. If not, we can probably throw a microphone.
You can? Okay.
How much does each component cost? Like for the materials, like if you're putting in the asbestos abatement and that's the new tile flooring, how much is that?
The asbestos grant that we received is a $1.5 million grant from the state.
Yeah, does that pay for the full
Yes.
asbestos abatement?
And the new flooring, yes.
Okay, and so,
And part of that is addressing some of the underground piping while we're ripping up the asbestos.
okay, and some of the underground, so hold on, where'd my notes
So I think it's worth, I probably didn't make this clear or directly speak to it, I think it's worth noting that the project cost of 24.9 million
Yes.
is a total project cost. It cannot go up, and it is inclusive of everything from design services to construction through all three of those summers. So it's a total project cost.
Yeah, it would be helpful to know what each component costs. Like, how much are we paying for the water system, and then the floating labs type of thing. That would help, because, you know, it's 29 million, but we only got 4 million from the state.
24.9, yes.
24.9, if you want to be specific, yeah. So, you know, and is that a full charge? When we do the bond, is that a full charge to us at the beginning of the project, or is it broken up as needed by year when you're borrowing the money?
So they're proposing a 20-year bond. So the towns would be paying over the course of 20 years. My understanding is the first year would be the lowest cost because it's only half the year. The highest cost would be the second year, and then it would incrementally and gradually go down from there.
You know, my question is, I know it's 29.4 million and the bond is for that amount, but you don't borrow the
24.9.
money all at once, do you? Do you borrow what you need for that year?
Karen, do you want to speak to that? Karen is a business administrator, and she's the money lady and knows. She's a smart one.
Yeah, no pressure. We anticipate borrowing over the 3 summer slams, so that's why we don't know the total cost of the interest. We know what the principal amount is going to be. We don't know the total
So you're going to borrow the
cost.
full amount up front, but you don't know what the interest is, or? See, that's what I'm asking.
No,
Are you
what
gonna
I said
borrow-
was, we're going to borrow over the 3 summers,
Okay,
so we don't know what the interest is going to be, because we don't know how much we're going to borrow in the first summer, how much we'll borrow in the second summer, and how much we'll borrow in the third summer, but it will not exceed $24.9 million.
okay.
And then from there, we'll know what the interest will be. If we were to borrow it all at once, the interest would be different than when we borrow it in 3 increments.
Oh, okay, okay. Is there a place we can write if we have more specific questions? I don't want to take everybody's time, because I'd want to know what kind of water system you're putting in. You know, what its capacity is, what's the volume of the tank, you know, based on what you've been using for water, that kind of stuff. If we're going to vote for it and it's going to cost us X amount of dollars, we should, you know, for me, I'm an itemized.
Well,
you
we
know,
have from now to 6:30, so I don't know if you guys can answer that.
Yeah, and the water portion too is also, we get about $500,000 from the state for that grant. Everything's going to be covered for the water quantity and water quality under that grant.
Okay. So that just pays the installation of the system and for the equipment, right? But
Yeah,
do you know
the
what you're
repair.
buying for the system?
That's part of, yeah, we're finalizing those designs now.
Okay.
We're
So-
working on the finalization of those, yep.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
And then over, yeah, the next year, we'll be doing that value, the final engineering of the remaining systems that would be doing the next 2
Okay.
summers.
Is there a way, would we be able to have access to that information as it goes, or?
Yeah, I think we could put together some summary packets that show what systems are going to be in place on the HVAC side.
Okay.
And then what system overall was installed for the water
Okay,
quantity.
thank you. Had you
Yeah.
explored options like manufacturers donating some of this material?
We haven't, typically the donation side, what we do get is, we get value buys with a lot of the manufacturers, so sometimes we can get discounts on equipment pending the manufacturer, what it is. We have not received, we would love to make it publicly known, we will receive any donations any manufacturer is willing to give.
Oh,
We
okay.
just have not received those yet.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yep.
One of the things it's important to remember when it comes to this renovation, and maybe my slides didn't speak directly to, because I got into the weeds of here's what we're doing here and over here, but it's important to remember that the $24.9 million, what we're really talking about is gut renovating your high school. We are ripping out and putting in new plumbing. We are putting in new electrical. Many of your classrooms only have 1 to 2 outlets. In today's day and age, with how teachers teach and students learn, that's just inadequate, and you get daisy chains and it's unsafe. We are talking about updating all the ceilings, updating all the flooring, painting the walls. So when you walk into this school at the end of the summer of 2028, it's going to feel like a new building. We're not doing a whole lot to the outside, that's not in the budget, but we are really going to be improving the life, the day-to-day of all the students and all the staff and all the people that interact with this building.
I think too, a big portion of that project is gutting the entire HVAC section. We're putting in the central biomass plant now, and we'll be going to an entire new ducted system. So we'll be moving the unit ventilators, going to a ducted energy recovery system throughout the classrooms. This is going to cost a lot less in maintenance. It's going to open up floor space in the classrooms. The temperature is going to be more even across the building. And we're not going to have you're not going to have that operational cost maintenance of keeping those unit vents in each classroom. It's going to be a more efficient, longer system, so much easier to operate. Overall, the lifespan, the efficiency of this system is going to be significantly better than what's currently in place. And so that's a large portion of it too, is going to a ducted system.
I guess me as a community member, I would like to see more information from our board and information about what our direction is here, because we're going to be, there's been rumors the school needs to be replaced. There's so much wrong with it. We need to have this because it's been neglected for years. My taxes have gone up significantly, and since I've moved here since 2006, and it's getting to the point where it's getting ridiculous. And I'm hearing, oh, you got to have a new school. It's going to improve education. Education doesn't improve by the structure of the environment. I know that with ADA standards, I am a firm believer in ADA. That's what I do for a living. I do all that. You need to have at least an accessibility bathroom within the building, and it sounds like we've already got that. I'd hate to spend millions of dollars to redo every single bathroom in this school, millions of dollars, and then 10 years from now, we tear this whole building down to build something new. And then you're going to be going back at the taxpayers for more money after we just spent $24 million in a building. I would like to have a guarantee that the school is going to be around for a certain number of years before we start investing all this money into a school. The bottom line needs to be replaced. And I know I looked at the list of where we are on the list. I know we only went from the years of the test from that they go through. We went from 53 to 52. I know it's not going to be forever, but to go to the taxpayers for this kind of amount of money and then come back again in just a few years, or I don't know, it could be 20 years or whatever, for hundreds of millions of dollars for a new school. I think we should fix what we need to have fixed, make things work, and then I don't know how many people here are enmeshed in the community like I am with my career. There are people out there that can't even afford their medications, they can't afford food, and I hear, oh, it's only going to be, and what I read, it's only going to be around $200 increase in your taxes. Thankfully, I can afford that, but there are many clients of mine that cannot afford that. They're going to be giving up food. They're going to be, and I'm not from Maine, I'm from New York, and living in this community, there's a lot of proud people in this community who will not go to the food pantry or ask for support or ask for heating assistance. And they're going to be some of them will be forced out of their home with this. And I hear every day from a lot of the seniors, and these seniors who cannot get out to vote or get the thing to vote on this are not going to be able to have their voices heard. And I just think the school district needs to come out with a better plan and educate with what is our direction of school, where are we going? Are we ripping the school down in 15 years? As me, as a taxpayer, I don't want to be paying $24 million into something for us just to throw it away. I mean, I've been in this district. My school kids have grown up here, but you drive by here in the summer, and there are tons of supplies sitting out in the parking lot in rain and everything else. I've seen their COVID money, the way COVID money was spent on trays and stuff, carts for the cafeteria to keep the kids distanced, that sat outside and went to waste. There's been a lot of wasted money in this district that I think can be restructured and do better for the kids and make the school functional if the plan is in the near future to tear it down. I came from a school that was built in 1967 that is still functioning back in New York. I went from kindergarten through 12th grade in the same school. And that school is still functioning and still providing a high-quality education. So to hear that we're not giving education because of the structure of the building, I find it hard to believe. So I think there needs to be a better plan from the board itself and what our plans are in the future, because $24 million from the taxpayers is a lot of money. And we've already been up millions of dollars in the past few years.
So thank you for your comments. The structure of the building is sound. Our scope doesn't really have any structural component. The building is not going to fall down. To build a new building would be $600 a square foot. This building is 105,000 square feet. So when you do that math, it's pretty devastating. It would bankrupt your towns to build a new building. So what we tried to do, and what we've all been adamant about from the very beginning of this project, is what can we do, what is needed in order to keep the building functioning. And so what we're talking about is saving this building so that when this renovation is over, it will continue to serve this community and serve it well for decades to come. The building, the water doesn't drain, we don't have the right electrical, the ventilation is not up to code, the heating system is breaking, and you can't drink the water. You can't do nothing with this building. So we said, well, all right, well, what are the problems? And now let's find the solution to fix what is needed. And that's how we ended up with the scope that we have. And that's why we make these project goals, because we don't want to frivolously spend your hard-earned tax dollars, sir. We ask ourselves, does the building need it? Is this in the category of what is needed, not what is wanted? And if it is, then we keep it in the scope and we pay for it. But if it's not, we remove it from the scope. And I'll give you an example. The room we're sitting in right here, the auditorium, we really wanted to find the dollars to renovate it. But renovating an auditorium would probably cost, I'm just guessing now, somewhere around $500,000. And why would we add $500,000 to the project if renovating the auditorium does not satisfy health, safety, and accessibility, is not about 21st century learning and space optimization, and would not be fiscally responsible? So that's how we've approached this, because we know that this community is not going to support, they can't support a brand new building, and I don't believe you need one. This is a good building, but it's not functioning. And we're going to fix that with this project.
And I think part of the evaluation as well, to address kind of the long-term needs, was when we started looking at what needs to be done. It was, what are the immediate need items that have to get fixed, and can the building survive another 5 to 10 years if we do not do this? And some of these items was a no. The building could not last another 10 years if you had an HVAC system that was 30 years old and failed, the water quality, the water quantity issues, and then the underground piping. So we would have to address those. The cost to close the high school and then tuition students out was also evaluated in it to say, is the funding worth putting into this building? And it was, because like Ann said, it's structurally sound. The building itself is good. It just needs these immediate improvements to bring it up to essentially a baseline. And the solutions that were selected as part of this were the 20 to 30 year solutions that can carry this building into the next 30 years without having to, in 15 years, say, what should we do with the building? Do we need to put another 10 million into it? This project will cover you on the baseline of this building for safety, reliability, HVAC, operationally for the next 30 years.
I guess I would like to see an itemized cost of what everything is and what you're going to be doing, and let the voters decide on that, because it's what they did before, the $81 million bond, just throw everything to a clump, and nothing was itemized. And I just think that some stuff could be, it might be being fluffed up a little bit when it could be more reasonable to the taxpayers. There's no doubt that this building does need repairs. There's no doubt in my mind.
I just want to thank you so much, because you're asking the critical question that is really the quote white elephant in the room, and I'm really grateful for that. I'm Tom Ambrose. I'm the interim superintendent, and I just want you to know that there are some things in this project, just to give you some examples of how difficult this was to get it below 25 million. This auditorium, some of these seats don't work. They need to be reupholstered, the flooring needs to be redone, and it just needs some freshening up with paint. We estimated that to be over $400,000, and we left that out because we felt that it wasn't necessary. So there's a difference between what you want and what you need, and the message that I've given everyone consistently since I was hired is, we're asking for a hand up, not a handout. When I had to cancel school this year because we didn't have water for kids. And so while I understand that some people would like very high-level specific detail of exactly what's going everywhere in the building, some of that you can't do until you do the next phase of the project, which is the moving from conceptual design to the actual designing of the systems. And you have to look at what the interest rates and the costs are at the time that they occur over a 3-year period. It's not that people don't want to be transparent. Everything that we're planning to do is totally in there. And I apologize, did you miss some of the school board meetings where we shared? Because a lot of those details have been shared very explicitly, but I'll just give you a brief overview. We have a band room that's too small for our students, and I asked, can we move a wall to expand the band room? I got told no, which is still a sore point for me. I'm bringing it up again. But the reason why I was told no is that when you move a wall, it costs too much money, and it's not necessary. And it really, in my mind, as a musician and an artist, for the kids, I really wanted this taken care of, but we can't, it falls in the bucket of hand out, not hand up. And so, but conversely, when I'm in the cafeteria and they wrote a grant for cooking equipment and they can't run it because it trips the circuit breakers, because the electrical is so bad in the building, then that falls in the bucket of hand up, not hand out. And so I just want everyone here to understand that the goal of this project was to ask for only what was absolutely necessary to run the building safely. I brought in a friend of mine who's an architect and asked him for a second opinion on the ADA compliance, just like you were alluding to. And he and one of his school experts walked through the building and said, not only are you not compliant with ADA, you're about 2 minutes away from a lawsuit, because you literally can't get from the front entrance of the building to the students' part of the building at all. You have to go around the back of this. If you would like a tour, I will take you on a tour personally. I just want to invite you to see the challenges that this building faces. And truly, I'm an interim superintendent. I've taken another position for next year. I won't be here, but Dan will be here. But I want you to know, I want you to know what your children need to have a successful high school experience. And the question here isn't whether or not these things have to happen, it's how are they going to happen. So what I've said to people is, if you choose to vote no on this bond, then what's the plan? Because the problems are still, you can't run a building of this size with pipes that were once 6 inches that are now 3 inches. Those have to be replaced. And so at what point do you have a conversation about tuitioning your children to another high school? And is there some place that would accept them? Because if you don't, if any of you don't pass this bond, that's fine. What are we going to do? Because the problems are still there. We need another plan if this plan doesn't work, because it's so significantly, I don't know what happened. I don't know, I wasn't here, sir, and I would never pretend to be. I grew up in Millinocket, and if you lived there your whole life and you weren't born there, you're always from away, right? So I'm just simply telling you that as an outsider coming in, this building is probably the most physically challenged plant I have ever worked in my 25-year career. And to the point where we all climbed up on the roof, Tim and I and a bunch of us, and Leah helped with supplies, and we fixed the roof to the building out back where the greenhouse is, the horticultural building, where the Mr. Lash's vault of all the seeds from all around the world is. We did that for $6,000 instead of $26,000 because we climbed up on the roof and did it ourselves. We're committed to making the building better with whatever money we can get from volunteers, donations. We're in. But there's a part of this that can't be, it has to be done right, and it has to be done to get the building to a level so that you can maintain the building, not constantly chasing it. And if you're wondering where your money's going to chasing your facilities. Your facilities are really struggling district-wide. The Miller School is not far behind this high school. And so my answer to you is that if you straighten out the high school, you have to prepare to figure out what to do with the rest of your facilities in the future. And so it's not an either or, it's an and we felt that the high school is in such a tough situation that this was the place to start. So I would invite you to call me. I'm happy to meet you and take you through the building myself. I just want you to know the door's open. Oh, yeah, sure. So the other thing is that the high school is currently in the midst of the accreditation process, and their feedback has been that they are very concerned about the physical plant, and that they may not give us accreditation because of the state of the physical plant. And I just want you to know, the last district I worked at, not only did they not give them the accreditation, they said if you don't do, they had to build a new high school in the last district I worked in, we are really fortunate that this building, the bones of this building are fine. It just needs to be, it's like, I don't know, but I love those TV shows where they buy a house and flip it and fix it up. It's kind of like that on a massive scale. This school has incredible potential. And so my goal was to get this as low as possible to support the kids, recognizing the burden that you just outlined as a taxpayer. And I just want you to know, during my entry plan, when I interviewed many, many people, all of the concerns that you brought up came up. I want to validate that there's a clear thread here that taxes are a real concern. The problem is that if you don't do something with your high school and you have to tuition all of your kids out, your taxes are going to go up even more, most likely. So at least.
Hi, I'm Naomi Hoffman, school board member, and I just want to say that, the work that these women have done for us has been done with incredible integrity and excellence, and has been done in a way that's very respectful of our limitations financially. And I just want you to keep in mind, there's no like fluffy extras going on here. This is a very respectful, highly professional approach to it, and I'm very grateful for it.
Good evening. Some of you know me, some of you don't. I'm standing here at the risk of sleeping on my couch for the next few nights. I stand here torn as a taxpayer, and before I say anything else, I would also like to say that there are 2 registered voters in our house. This is my opinion, and only my opinion. I have watched, I'm not able to attend a lot of the board meetings. My days are long, and I need a shower at the end of the day before I show up for these. As a taxpayer, there is no doubt in my mind, after watching all these online every night through the budget process, that you folks have done a fantastic job doing what you do, and I appreciate that. Mr. Race is going to get an extension of at least 5 years on his life if this comes to fruition, because he's spent a lot of time gluing this place back together for several years. Here's my frustration as a taxpayer. And you guys danced up to the line pretty close, but you never crossed it. I never once heard, and I'm not worried about next year's payment. I'm worried about the year after that and the year after that. Not once did I hear from the board or the superintendent, this is how we're going to pay for this. We're just going to put it in the budget, hand it to the taxpayers. And a quick story, because I used to be a commercial truck salesman in the previous life, is I had a town that I sold a plow truck to that got mad because we handed him a bill for 2 hours to remove his plow equipment. After we reminded him several times our shop doors were narrow, it won't fit in, and if you bring it here with the plow equipment on it, we're going to charge you to take it off, and you'll have to put it back on when you come to get it. And he said, if your doors are too narrow, why don't you just put it in your budget next year and get them fixed? In the business world, that's not how it works. So I stand here torn. I never once heard we're going to right-size the classrooms. I never once heard we're going to right-size the support staff in the buildings for those students, for the number of students in the building. We have a diminishing student body. Yes, we desperately need to do something with this building. There's some work that needs to be done on the campus across the street. But at what point do we start looking at the whole picture, how to save the taxpayers some money to support the renovation, which is desperately needed here, instead of just handing the taxpayers a bill and asking us to vote on it. And I asked my wife a question the other day, and I said, what happens if this passes this year and this doesn't. Because without this, this waits till next year. I'm not hiding anything, but there are two votes in this house, and I think the boat was missed. I think the boat was missed on an opportunity for this year to get a budget that was close to last year's to put this renovation forward. And I think you're going to struggle at the polls. I really think you're going to struggle at the polls to get the budget to pass, because you're handing them this, which is a no-brainer. This docket got missed, and
Yeah.
got missed hard.
Can I respond? I love you. So I don't know if you watched the budget meetings.
I've watched
but-
them all.
Okay, great. So I don't disagree with you. And what I've told the group is, when Dan's standing right behind you he's the new superintendent as of July 1st.
Dan.
He and I have talked at length. And what I've told him is that what I've advised the district to do is to, and we have already started this process, I don't know if this got missed, but working with NESDEC to figure out the layout of the district for the future. Because the question for you as a community is, can you continue to run 5 elementary schools for 1,640 students? Is that cost effective? And are you paying for duplication of services and staff? And my answer would be yes, you are. And that conversation has to happen over the next 12 months in light of the fact that in year one you would have about a $2 million increase to your budget for this project after the initial first payment of a half payment of, what was it, Karen, 459,000 roughly? Yeah, 400, and she does the perfect math. My point is that I agree with everything that you said, that this was why I brought forward a budget with reductions for this year. And you all have to have a really difficult conversation as you move forward. However, I would caution you about not supporting the bond. And Skip, I'm not trying to change your vote, because I would never dare to do that.
I fully support this.
I'll let Karen, thank you, and I appreciate that.
I
And
fully support
yeah,
this.
and I think I was pretty clear during the budget process. I think that should be lower. I think that should be.
This is where I'm struggling.
Yes, and
Hard.
I want you to know that I agree with that. And I'm telling everyone, I'm leaving, so I'll tell you exactly what I think, honestly, and I would tell you anyway, is that you're right on, that you cannot continue to just grow the budget at 5 or 6% a year for the next 8 years, and you're putting all of your money into facilities instead of teaching and learning. And that's a big conversation that I've been having with, I've said this to the board. As I said, we've already engaged NASDAQ. But one problem that you have as an organization is the amount of time that kids would spend on buses. And as a part of any reorganization process or creating interorganizational efficiency, which is what you need to look at, is figuring out how would the bus runs work and what would the busing cost be, and at what point does it flip to be a diminishing return. And that's a year-long study that Dan will be working on. And I'll share all of this more with Dan in detail. But I just want to validate for you that I think you're thinking exactly about the right things. You have to have a conversation about the balance of what percentage is the budget going to go up organically, and how do you right-size things. And one of the things that is not an excuse, but it's a fact, is that special education costs are escalating nationally. And it is a huge problem for us as an organization, and that's something that we need to look at. And Ashley and Penelope have been working really, really hard to figure out efficiencies and what to do about those costs. So the team is working on it, but it's a process.
So why, and again, I'm getting closer to the couch here, but
Yeah.
I don't understand
No, you're cool.
if someone's job description is to fill out their section of main care, and we billed $400,000 and received it last year, why is it not being done this year if it's already in somebody's job description, and why are we going to hire somebody to police that?
Totally happy to buy you lunch, but that is not something I can go into right now. That's a personnel matter, right? I can't discuss with you who's doing what and why and how to do that. And frankly, that's not information that really should be public.
It just doesn't make sense. Thank you.
I did want to note one thing about the classroom sizes, though, you brought up. So one of the questions that was asked in the early days of conceptual design is, are the classroom sizes okay? The state says that a typical high school classroom needs to be 800 or 900 square feet. On average, the high school classrooms in this building are 700 square feet. It would be profoundly costly to go through, bulldoze CMU walls and rebuild them so they're all exactly 800 or 900 square feet. What I proposed is, look, we're a rural district, and our class sizes are smaller than your average. The main state classroom averages are based on 24 kids, and we don't have that. We have far fewer. So it was determined, I think rightly so, that we can maintain our classrooms. So we're actually not moving walls for typical classrooms because we just don't need to. Because the teachers say it works well, because the students say it works well, and because it is enough square footage. So I hope you feel better about that.
It's not so much this building,
I got it.
but thank you.
Well, it's the only building I care about. I was hired for this building. There's more questions. Please. Yeah, would you?
You talked about a biomass. I've been involved in quite a few biomass plants. They're not an easy operation. And first of all, I was wondering what type of fuel you're going to burn. And,
Wood chip.
Wood chips?
Yep.
That's all I wanted to know.
And you're right.
I'm really opinionated on that.
Yeah, in biomass, the newer biomass boilers, in the install and the design, we've seen them be very,
Talk to the other people. I was involved with a couple plants that were shut down because it just didn't work. They're not easy to operate. It takes some pretty skilled people to run a biomass plant.
in the newer technology does make it easier. Jefferson, right down the road a little bit, they have a great plant. We've installed a few across New England, northern New England specifically, and the Froling technology that we'll be installing in this one is more seamless to operate, and then as long as it's maintained on a regular basis, which the district does, it's,
So you think the wood chips are better than oil?
yes. Yeah, I mean, the oil that's currently, it's, right now, especially with oil, the volatility of it, the efficiency, the ease, when the dry wood chips, you're going to be burning it at a higher efficiency. So there's going to be some significant savings and yearly thermal recs that their district's going to be getting from using the wood chips. And yes, we're sourcing them locally. I also am a Mass Maritimer and a Maine Maritimer, so, yep. I like to say the better one, but I'm in Maine now, so.
I'll take that microphone from her. More questions? There's plenty of time. Yes, sir.
Hi, thank you for all the work. Can you talk a little more about, I know that the accreditation has been an ongoing problem and concern. So can you talk about any of those specific accreditation flags that have already been raised and how those are being addressed? And are we fairly confident that when we come out of this, we're going to have a much easier time maintaining that accreditation?
If I need to, I'll run the microphone up to Linda because I don't think she's. Yeah, Linda, I'll try though. If you, yeah. So, the answer is yes, right? The short, direct answer is yes. If you do the things that we have done in this project, it will address the concerns of accreditation. And I think that the most important thing to understand is that it's not just making the building fancy or nice. It's the water flow, it's the bathrooms. I have never walked into a public facility bathroom that smelled worse than the one that I walked into here. And there's no ventilation in the bathrooms. We're talking about safety. We're talking about asbestos-laden 1968 heating vents and systems. We're talking about, I just can't impress enough as a total outsider how shocked I was of the condition of this building when I was hired and did a tour. And so I can offer you only my sincere objective. If my son were going to school here, I would not be okay with this. And I mean that sincerely. Except I love the teachers. We have amazing teachers and staff. And the students said to me, can you make the building look the way that the teachers make us feel? And that's the goal of this bond, is to make the building safe and welcoming to the children of RSU 40 for the next and I agree with this gentleman over here. He made a lot of really good points. My understanding is that this bond will get the building up and running, and then Brian can use his budget to maintain it. The hope is that at least 30 years would be the amount of time that the building would be managing, because when you're not chasing it, everyone keeps saying, where does the money in Medomak go? Where does it go? I'll tell you where it goes. You're chasing your facilities because you have to update to get on top of it. You can't constantly just kind of use caulking, duct tape, and glue on a school building. It's a massive facility, and it costs a lot of money to fix. I mean, just that roof, Tim, how many square did we do on that roof? Thousands. I mean, it was a huge roof for just this one little part, this one little sub-building. I mean, it took us $5,000 in supplies with $1,000 off for a donation because Leah worked her magic, right? And so I'm just saying that was probably a $30,000 project now. And so that's just one little tiny outbuilding. The scope and gravity of it is very hard to comprehend without living in it. Linda, did I do okay? Okay, do you want to comment? Why don't you? Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. Should we sing Welcome Back? Welcome back.
Sorry, I just had my,
I was going to say something. Yeah, that show is younger than
yeah. I just had my second knee replacement and I'm just back. I'm glad I don't have 3 knees, and so here I am. So I think you did it very well. A couple of other things that were on my mind to say is that, yes, the numbers are dropping, so the idea of building a whole new school, that's just not the direction that we're going in. And that when I started here in 2005, for those of you who don't know, it's my dad's picture on the back wall. The auditorium was named after him. So when in the early years, there were upwards of 800 people in this building. I can't imagine really that it was packed. And when I started here in 2005, after a number of different places, there were about 730 students. And we started to get down around 570 to 560 in the last 5 years. We're starting now to be closer to 530, and the projection is in about 5 years, I think, to be stabilized at around 480. So the moving classrooms and making classrooms larger and all of that, that's not what we're about, and that's the reality of this, is that we're not asking for things, as has been said, that we don't need. We're going to fit very well in here with this renovation, should it go through. And to be the principal of a building at a sporting event in the gym between Rockland and Medomak Valley High School, varsity girls and boys basketball, to capacity, being the person that people are looking to manage the building along with the athletic director, and to be told in the middle of the game that I need to announce that people need to stop flushing the toilets because there's no water. Just put yourself in that position. I'm 5'4". What am I going to say? Except, please don't flush the toilets. And this is going to sound a little bit disgusting, but as an adult, if you have been in a staff bathroom and if you've used that bathroom in a way that when you realize suddenly you cannot flush the toilet, you do not want to leave until you can. And you're the principal of the building. So I call out to somebody, hey, I know we need to wait 10 minutes for water. I don't want to leave this for somebody else. That's what we're at. And I love the students who have said we want to have the building look like the staff makes us feel. My heart is in this building. I care very much about it. I think it has many years left in its useful life. The list that we are on, I think will put us like close to 65 years before we would qualify for state aid. I won't be here. I will not be the principal. I'm closing in on that at 63 now, so a couple more years perhaps. But the needs that these lovely people have identified and what we've held it up to a standard of, is it a need or a want? My father's memorial service was held in this auditorium, and that chair right there was the one that I sat in because I didn't want anybody else in my family to sit in it, because you slide out of it. And there are chairs throughout this auditorium that's what happens. The springs are gone. The chairs are so old that they no longer make these chairs. So we'd have to replace the whole thing. But as Dr. Ambrose said, we didn't make this a want. We didn't make this part of it because it was a want and not a need. So I hope those things help. I hope I didn't ramble. Thank you.
And there's a website too on the district page that says Medomak Valley Renovation, and it has frequently asked questions, and it has all the videos and the presentations, and a lot more information than what was presented here. So if you are someone that wants to dive into it, I would encourage you to go to that website and read further. Thank you for your attention, and Carrie and I will be here all evening if you have additional questions. Please come find us.